The moon is not what you believe it to be. We persuaded ourselves that we knew it for 53 years after the final Apollo astronaut departed the surface in 1972. A gray buddy, a lifeless rock, completely marked and geologically silent. Then on April 6, 2026, the Orion spacecraft's far side, the portion that is always facing away from Earth, was circumnavigated by 4 astronauts. In a matter of hours, what they discovered there destroyed that cozy delusion. They are Jeremy Hansen, Christina Koch, Victor Glover, and Reed Wiseman. They are the crew of Artemis II, the first time a non-American, a black astronaut, and a woman have ever been outside of Earth's orbit. On April 1st, 2026, at 6:35 p.m., they took out from Kennedy Space Center on the Space Launch System, NASA's most potent rocket to date. At liftoff, the 322-foot-tall SLS produces 8.8 million pounds of force. In a single fire that lasted less than 5 minutes, it removed them from Earth's orbit. There was no going back after that. The path they took is known as a free return, which means that even if the spacecraft's engine had entirely failed following that fire, the moon's gravity would have thrown them around and caused them to fall back toward Earth on its own. In 1970, Apollo 13 traveled in a similar manner. The fact that it's the safest route to the moon also highlights how risky it is. The solution that takes complete engine failure into consideration is the safest. They became the most solitary humans in history as they traveled behind the moon at a height of around 4,067 miles above its surface. The moon itself cut off all radio communication between their spaceship and Earth for 40 minutes. The oldest and most worn-out landscape in the solar system stretched out before them, yet there was no voice from Houston, no telemetry, no abort commands, just quiet. Prior to the blackout, the flight's pilot, Victor Glover, attempted to inform mission control of what he was witnessing in real time. He was unable to, not at all. During the flyover, he radioed down his exact words. Humans probably have not evolved to see what they were seeing, that it was really difficult to explain. The 4 of them were by themselves when the signal went out at 6:44 p.m. Eastern Time. What did they observe then? You must first realize how different the far side of the moon is from the side we see every night in order to comprehend why it is so unsettling. Large black plains known as Maria blanket the near side, which faces Earth. Billions of years ago, massive craters were filled with ancient lava flows that cooled into flat basalt seas. This volcanic rock covers around 31% of the near side. It gives the moon its recognizable face, the one we've painted, photographed, and sketched for generations. Less than 1% of it is found on the far side. The far side is a wall of craters heaped on top of craters, layered on top of previous craters, rather than smooth plains. Nevertheless, it appears to have been hammered for 4 billion years without stopping. No one is entirely sure why the crust is around 50 kilometers thicker on the far side than the close side. According to the most popular explanation, there was a catastrophic impact close to the moon's south pole that was so strong that it forced radioactive materials and rare Earth elements toward the near side and sent a heat plume rippling through the entire interior. The largest preserved crater in the solar system was created by the impact. Aitken Basin, the South Pole. It descends to a depth of 13 kilometers and spans over 2,500 kilometers. It would encompass everything from Texas to Virginia on a map of the United States. With top elevations of 8,500 meters, the mountains along its rim are some of the highest on the moon, and something massive is concealed beneath its floor. In 2019, a team led by planetary geophysics Peter James at Baylor University combined gravity data from NASA's Grail mission with topographic measurements from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. They discovered a mass anomaly that was at least 300 kilometers below the basin's surface, a dense material glob that weighs at least 2.18 quintillion kilograms. According to James, it's about like burying a mound of metal underground that's 5 times bigger than the vast island of Hawaii, Whatever it is heavy enough to pull the basin floor over half a mile under. The most plausible theory is that the hole was initially created by the asteroid's metallic core, which is still embedded in the moon's mantle 4 billion years later. The Artemis II crew were the first humans to witness the eastern edge of this basin with their own eyes, like a bullet fragment that the body was never able to force out, nor via the windows of their spaceship, nor in processed data from an orbiter, not through a robotic camera. It was never seen by the Apollo astronauts. Their timing was not in line with the proper solar illumination, and their flight trajectories did not pass over the appropriate portions of the far side. By design, Artemis II's trajectory was different, sweeping closer and at an angle that, from the crew's point of view, exposed around 21% of the far side to direct sunlight, enough to see characteristics that no person had ever seen directly. The Oriental Basin, a nearly 600-mile wide impact scar that spans the boundary between the near and far sides, was one of the flyby's 30 science targets. From orbit, it resembles a bullseye blasted into the western limb of the moon and is 3.8 billion years old. To learn how to identify and characterize geological characteristics in real time, the crew spent months training in Iceland and other volcanic settings. They work as engineers and pilots instead of scientists. In contrast to the surrounding old surface, Koch observed that the smaller, more recent impact craters were startlingly bright. She likened them like tiny pinprick holes in a lampshade that glowed white against the drab landscape. The team also noticed one of the most puzzling aspects of the near side before arriving at the far side. The moon's surface is covered in Reiner Gamma, a vivid swirling pattern that resembles someone dragging a white paintbrush across dark rock. It is not elevated. It is neither a volcanic deposit nor a crater. A localized magnetic anomaly in the crust underneath it is precisely aligned with this flat visual signature. There is no worldwide magnetic field on the moon. It has been billions of years since it had one. However, there are still sporadic areas of magnetic rock in its crust, like the spirits of something that once shielded it. On top of one of these patches is Reiner Gamma. Furthermore, scientists are still unsure if the dazzling swirl is caused by something else entirely, or if the magnetism is protecting the surface from solar wind damage. The crew took pictures of it as they swept by after the Artemis II research team designated it as a priority observation target. Glover became obsessed with the Terminator, the moving boundary between the moon's shaded and sunlit sides. Craters change along that line. Their rims are struck by sunlight at sharp angles, creating shadows so deep they resemble holes blasted through to the moon's core. Glover radioed down that the Terminator was full of enchantment and that the valleys and islands of light resembled black holes through which you could fall directly to the moon's center. Christina and Jeremy Hansen were taking pictures of the Vavilov crater at the same time. It was located deep on the far side, on the rim of the larger and older Hertzsprung Basin. Real-time updates to the observation plan were being sent to the crew by the Science Evaluation Room in Houston, which was based on their reports. Additionally, the crew observed color differences on the surface that were not fully captured by any orbiter image. There are delicate blue tints in some areas, brown and green hues on the near side, and other color variations that are visible to human eyes but are sometimes flattened by cameras. These color changes are important because they show the relative age and mineral composition of surface structures, data that could alter maps depicting the geological past of the moon. There is more to that description than just poetry. It hits on something about the far side that is truly unnerving. Beneath the far side surface, a 50-kilometer wide area that registers about 10 degrees Celsius warmer than the surrounding area was found by researchers in 2023. A huge buried chunk of granite, a common rock type on Earth but virtually unknown on the moon, is most likely the source. Since the moon lacks both plate tectonics and water, granite cannot form. It may be the relic of a volcano that went dormant 3.5 billion years ago, according to the experts, with its leftover lava still emitting a slight heat. The discovery is much more like what we see on Earth than anyone had anticipated on the moon, according to lead scientist Matt Siegler. It also poses a question that no one anticipated in 2026. Underneath, what else is still warm? The lava tubes come next, According to radar data and high-resolution photos, the moon may have networks of underground tunnels created by ancient lava flows, with entrance pits visible from orbit that may lead to caverns big enough to house entire buildings. It is still unknown what their actual size, distribution, and structural integrity are. What could be within them? It is completely hypothetical as to whether the temperature conditions are drastically different from the surface, trapped gases, or pure volcanic deposits. They might potentially be investigated by upcoming Artemis missions. They are sealed for the time being. Additionally, the crew of Artemis II saw something that no human had ever seen from this angle or distance: a lunar, orbit-based total solar eclipse. The sun fell behind the lunar disk and vanished as Orion sank beneath the moon. Totality lasted for almost 54 minutes, significantly longer than any eclipse that could be seen from Earth. Victor Glover said that the halo created by the sun's corona, or outer atmosphere, was dazzling enough to ring the whole moon. According to Jeremy Hansen, during totality, the moon's whole perimeter was illuminated by the sun, displaying the lunar limb's distinctive terrain. Peaks and ridges were silhouetted against the sun's atmosphere's blazing white light. Both Hansen and Reed Wiseman reported seeing what looked like impact flashes on the lunar surface during the eclipse, brief flashes of light that might have been tiny meteors hitting the exposed far side. In the evaluation room, scientists requested more information. They both acknowledged witnessing at least one fleeting flash, but they were unable to determine its duration. The moon lacks both a magnetic field and an atmosphere. Nothing separates the entire violence of space from its surface. With nothing to slow it down, every micrometeorite, solar wind particle, and galactic cosmic radiation burst strikes the far side. Earthly observers have documented fleeting bursts of light on the lunar surface for generations. Fleeting glowing occurrences that come and go before anyone can verify them. A few are impacts from meteorites. Others could be outgassing from the interior or electrostatic dust plumes. Nobody is certain. During the solar eclipse, the crew of Artemis II might have seen at least one of these things. A flash that they were unable to confirm in the time they had. Due to high-energy particles from galactic cosmic rays penetrating their retinas, Apollo astronauts on the near side reported seeing enigmatic light streaks behind their closed eyelids during their missions. These exposures lasted only a few days at most. Later on, some Apollo astronauts experienced abnormally high rates of cataract development. Given the sample size of precisely 24 individuals who have ever left Earth's magnetic protection, the majority lived long lives without any clear radiation-related cancers, which was comforting but statistically useless. The crew of Artemis II will be in deep space for 10 days at solar maximum, which is the height of the sun's 11-year activity cycle and when solar particle events are most likely to occur. Radiation levels during a strong solar storm can reach almost fatal levels in a matter of hours. More protection is provided by the Orion capsule than by Apollo, but the galactic cosmic rays that come from supernova explosions and other catastrophic occurrences travel at virtually the speed of light and can pass through practically anything that has been constructed. Deep space radiation is the biggest barrier to human exploration, according to Alexandra Stankovic, founding director of the Center for Space Medicine Research at Massachusetts General Hospital. According to the article, scientists are studying everything from novel gene therapy methods derived from radiation-resistant creatures to dietary supplements to experimental pharmacological therapies. Because engineering won't be sufficient if humans are ever to spend months at a time outside of Earth's magnetic shield, the answer must include biology. After the trip, scientists will examine how the bone marrow cells from the crew's own blood samples in the Avatar payload aboard Artemis II react to the deep space radiation environment. That information is more valuable than any picture. The crew was helpless during the communications outage. Mission. Control wouldn't have known if a solar particle event had occurred during those 40 minutes until the signal came back. For this, the crew received training. They followed procedures. Even in an emergency, Orion was able to maintain cabin pressure by continually pumping oxygen. Pressurized suits were carried by them. That doesn't alter the reality of those 40 minutes. Enclosed in a capsule the size of a big van, 4 individuals were separated from Earth by 2,160 miles of solid lunar rock, surrounded by an old, violent landscape and exposed to radiation that our species did not adapt to withstand. Mission control in Houston exploded when the signal returned. According to the crew, they saw Earth disappear beyond the lunar horizon. A pale blue crescent slowly vanished behind gray rock with craters. The classic Earthrise photo, shot by Apollo 8 astronaut Bill Anders in 1968, is mirrored in the NASA-released image known as EarthSat. But this time, Earth is disappearing, slipping behind the far side. With a clarity that pierced through the mission's technical noise, Koch described the moment. According to her, having that perspective and comparing it to home serves as a reminder of how much we have in common and how Earth provides for all of our needs. However, you cannot really comprehend this until you have seen things from the other person's point of view. During the flyby, the crew named 2 craters. One they dubbed Integrity in honor of the Orion spacecraft's moniker. The other was named Carol in honor of Reed Wiseman's late wife, Carol Taylor Wiseman, who passed away in 2020. It is situated where the moon's near and far sides meet. If you know where to look, you can see a brilliant point from Earth. It was only a bright spot on the moon, according to Hansen. At an estimated 252,756 miles, the Artemis II mission broke the record for the furthest human flight from Earth. At about 60,863 miles per hour in relation to Earth, the Orion spacecraft made its closest approach to the moon. The duration of the flyby observation period was 7 hours. Due to bandwidth constraints, the majority of the thousands of photos that the team captured have not yet been downlinked. The entire collection of photos won't be accessible until after splashdown, which is expected for Friday, April 10th off the coast of San Diego. Those pictures will be important. According to NASA, the images of craters, ridges, and old lava flows may help scientists better understand how the solar system changed over time, how the moon formed, and where to send future missions. The observations have a useful function as well. Astronauts will be landed on the moon by future Artemis missions. Additionally, the location of those landings will be determined by the crew's descriptions of surface textures, shadow behavior, and landscape characteristics. When a trained human eye notices how shadows collect in unexpected spots along the terminator, a scene that appears flat and safe in an orbiter view may appear very different. Contested territory already exists on the far side, scientifically, but not politically just yet. In January 2019, China's Chang'e 4 lander landed on the far side of Von Karman crater, a 186-kilometer-wide feature on the South Pole Aitken Basin floor. Since direct radio contact with Earth is impossible from the far side, a relay satellite known as Queqiao had to be put in a halo orbit beyond the moon in order to sustain connection during the first soft landing on the far side in history. Olivine and pyroan, minerals from the lunar mantle, were discovered by the U-22 rover, indicating that the South Pole Aitken impact excavated debris from hundreds of kilometers below the surface. China's Chang'e 6 mission advanced in 2024. It brought samples back to Earth after gathering them from the distant side. It was the first time that materials from the moon's hidden hemisphere had ever been returned for examination in a lab. These samples are currently being examined by scientists. Additionally, the far side provides radio quiet, something that no other location in the inner solar system can match. It is always protected from the electromagnetic cacophony produced by Earth's human civilization. 3,400 kilometers of solid rock block every cell tower, broadcast signal, and Wi-Fi router. The far side is the quietest listening position for radio astronomers. There, telescopes might pick up frequencies below 30 megahertz that are blocked by Earth's own ionosphere, providing a previously unattainable glimpse into the early universe. For precisely this reason, several space organizations have suggested constructing observatories on the far side. Beyond its surface, the moon is concealing mysteries. It's providing us with a means of hearing the rest of the cosmos with greater clarity than before. For generations, we have gazed at the moon's face and called it understanding. We made 6 landings on it and gathered rocks from a few carefully selected locations on the close side. Using a local data collection, we constructed a model of the entire moon. That would be equivalent to saying that the entire Earth is composed of sand after landing a spaceship in the Sahara Desert. The full narrative is on the far side. The close side was long since wiped under layers of lava, leaving behind a landscape so old and worn that it registers impacts, a basin so big that the moon might have been turned on its axis. The local gravitational field is distorted by a metallic object buried thus deeply. Sealed lava tunnels, unexplained heat sources, and a crust so thick and dissimilar from the near side that it defies the fundamental theories of how moons cool and solidify. Glover explained that it only happened when Earth reappeared and Orion cleared the far side. According to him, the moon is more than just a passing banner in the sky. It's an actual location. He is correct, and the more we know about it, the less at ease we are with that reality. Because the far side is not just different from what we anticipated, it differs in ways that constantly compel us to reinvent the narrative. The granite that ought not to be present, the mismatched mass, the asymmetry that cannot be explained by a single hypothesis. Billions of years ago, the magnetic ghosts left their mark on a crust that had lost its field. Apollo's seismometers picked up the moonquakes. Shallow tremors that imply motion is still present in a world we have declared to be dead. 3 further questions are raised after each response from the distant side, and the questions continue to become more challenging. The crew of Artemis II is currently returning home at a speed of thousands of miles per hour. On Friday, they will make landfall in the Pacific. When they do, they will have made the first human observations of the moon's hidden face in more than 50 years, not the cleaned version from processed datasets and orbiter cameras. Victor Glover, a test pilot and Navy captain who has spent 168 days on the International Space Station, stated that what he was seeing was beyond what humans were evolved to see. The moon is not what we believed it to be, and our understanding of its true nature is still in its early stages. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you in the future one.